Oh, hi there. I was just reading such a great book. I thought I'd share my ideas with you. Hello, Evil Hat. My name is Anthony Gutierrez, and I would like to talk to you about my experience with your fantastic game. I would just like to say thank you for making such a great game that is interactive, it's creative, keeps our minds going, and that's what's great about it. And all of the great things that you've gifted us with, like the dice especially, you've probably seen our thank you video. In case you haven't, thanks a lot, especially for the vampire ones that don't have sparkles, because vampires don't sparkle. And it's great that you realize that. It's great that you're letting us know that as well, because vampires don't sparkle. I don't know what else to say about that. So I'm going to tell you about my story that I would like to introduce to you. The story goes as a multiverse story that takes place within a multiverse championship that begins with the main characters, whoever that you want to make them, in a battle royale as the champion of the Otherworld tournament. Death watches them fight, and then the multiverse begins to collapse around them as the dark entities that once ruled want to come back to take over and rule them again, by force this time. But they don't know that the heroes that are currently in the Battle Royale have already prepared for this, and the champion himself is going to oversee their progress with this, since he's already in another dimension, or he was in a ball. I don't know. My character was the game master the whole time, but Death doesn't necessarily have to be one of them, but the overseer or the game master has to say that who the champion is, and if they come into play later on, if they're an enemy or if they're a short-term ally, it has to be made clear. But other than that, it is very unique because since it's a multiverse story, then the player can create a character out of literally anything. You want to have a Tyrannosaurus with robot parts, there you go. You want to have some kind of demonic entity that loves taking care of little animals, there you go. You want to make it something that already exists, that you want to base a fan parody off of, it's a multiverse story, there you go. And what happens is that demons, the undead, all of these things came back to life in our story, and it was very interesting to see how they reacted to giant monsters coming out to fight that take 2 hitboxes of stress to take down, and that have very low stats on intelligence, but that I gave them very unique stats. Like, even though they're 50 meters tall, they have a +2 quick. And I think that it's important to give a kind of twist to these enemies because they're outside of our laws of physics, so they can do literally anything. That the enemies can range from simple attack them, to I'm going to find a way to exploit their weaknesses throughout this little adventure of theirs. And it was interesting to see how they adapted to it and how their characters, how they based their weaknesses, where they decided to ground them in terms of reality. The lights just went out. I don't know why, but this really sets the mood because the entities that eventually the story arc, the dark forces win one part, but then the story arc continues to where they became dark entities to overpower them, and then decided to shroud the world in a darkness that would eventually cripple itself over, and that's how our story played out. I think you can find a very better storyline, but I actually have made sketches for some of these characters or some of these places that I think you would find interesting. That here I have the stadium city at least, that you see there are tiny villages across the land,
forests, deserts, the walls to the city, a rail system that goes around, inner walls for the people of higher class, and then there's the fighting arena itself, which all this takes place in, and as well as a sketch for one of the nightmare bosses. So yeah, this is the Nightmare of the Moon, or the Dark Walker, or Dream Eater, whatever you want to call it. And this has been my story arc, Anthony Gutierrez again. And if you want to see, if you would like to know more about this story, I actually am writing it for. I'm actually beginning to write it for an anime series that I hope to make. So if you want to be a part of this, I'd like to be in contact with you. Thank you very much. Have a good one.